pretty smart animals, but there's no species quite like us. But that wasn't always true. As recently as 50,000 years ago, we walked the planet along with at least 3 other human species. Denisovans and real-life hobbits, Homo floresiensis, didn't leave much behind to know them by. But Neanderthals are a different story, a richer story. The first people to hold Neanderthal skulls didn't know what to make of them, until Charles Darwin published his theory of evolution. Like every living thing, modern humans must have descended from an earlier species, and lots of scientists thought Neanderthals fit the bill, our primitive, slightly dim-witted ancestor. Ernst Haeckel even tried to name them Homo stupidus. Other scientists had different ideas. They rebuilt skeletons to look like cartoon cavemen, instead insisting Neanderthals were some failed evolutionary dead end. So, where do Neanderthals fit in the human story? Were they a bunch of cotton-headed ninny-muggins, or were they more intelligent and human than we give them credit for? And if they were smart, why did they disappear after they met us? Did Neanderthals really disappear after all? If you were sharing a subway car with a bunch of humans and a well-groomed Neanderthal, you might not be able to tell who's who. But that's New York for you. But there were some differences. The big brow ridge, huge nose, weirdly short forearms and shins, and big muscles. These were adaptations to life in cold northern climates, while our skinny ancestors were built for a warmer, runnier existence. Our bodies are different, but similar enough that when Neanderthals and our species first met, we would have seen something familiar staring back at us. Neanderthal life carried serious occupational hazards, considering dinner meant going head-to-head with woolly mammoths and rhinoceros like some Paleolithic rodeo rider. Their fossil remains show healed, broken bones, even signs that some were blind, meaning Neanderthal tribes cared for and fed their sick and injured. They even buried their dead. We don't know if that's because they were spiritual or religious, but Neanderthals definitely weren't violent brutes. They were caring and social. By 250,000 years ago, there were brains walking around in Germany as big or bigger than yours or mine, only inside Neanderthal skulls. But if brains were everything, blue whales would be our overlords. They're not, right? Neanderthals used this tool about 200,000 years ago. 150,000 years later, that technology had progressed to this. Not exactly Steve Jobs. It's clearly not the size of a brain. It's how you use it. Our symbolic thinking, social interactions, technological innovation, and dad jokes just wouldn't be possible without our brain's ability to fancy words together make. You know, intricate phraseology, elaborate discourse, complex language. So could Neanderthals talk? We know that we and Neanderthals share the same version of a gene, FOXP2, that's essential for a language. But that gene alone isn't enough to make a caveman Shakespeare. The shape of Neanderthal brains inside their skulls suggests they had structures important for speech. Their throats were shaped to make more than ape sounds. That's most of the ingredients for some kind of speech and language. But rich communication is possible even without mouth noises. Scientists think Neanderthals could have exchanged ideas and told stories by combining simple sounds, musical tones, and rhythmic movement, just like prehistoric boy bands. Around 50,000 years ago, Neanderthals met their very smart cousins, us. For 5 or 10,000 winters and summers, our ranges overlapped until Neanderthals suddenly disappeared, just poof, about 40,000 years ago. Were we friends or enemies? Wherever our nomadic hunting groups clashed for territory, our species had deadlier weapons. Whereas Neanderthals lived in socially isolated groups, we readily exchanged technology between tribes, even traded. When it came to innovation and competition for resources, Neanderthals just couldn't catch up. Or maybe we just gave them an extinction-level case of the flu. At their peak, Neanderthal populations probably never reached 6 figures worldwide. Like gorillas and orangutans today, they lived in small dispersed pockets, which means